I'm in my basement with the Able Bike Company core. This is the 29er that with the coupon code KevCentral at mendhambikes.com is $252, actually a few cents below $252 for a decently good bike. Now, it doesn't have the tapered head tube. As a matter of fact, there are a few things I want to talk about on this based on questions from viewers, and I've broken down the top 10, at least the 10 most important ones as I see it, that have to do with this bike. And in another video, I'll be talking about the Univega Rover, some questions about it too. But let's start up top. I like to start up top with my reviews. Let's start with the questions up top at these bars. Are these alloy or are they steel? Because someone said those have to be steel bars at this price. Actually, no, these are alloy. I figured that would be pretty self-evident with the weight of the bike. This only weighs 31 pounds, very light for a very affordable bike. These bars, they're actually alloy, and I can prove it to you. This is a magnet. It will stick to steel things. It will not stick to these bars. They are alloy, as is the stem. Number 2, can this straight steerer be adapted to accept a tapered fork? Well, yes, there is a way. There is a company, actually a couple of companies, a few probably, that make an adapter that extends out a little bit, and it allows the tapered fork, or the taper from a tapered fork, to sit externally outside of the head tube, but not without some modification. And by modification, I mean taking out the pressed-in cup here and putting in that external adapter. But again, it will sit out. It's going to be visibly obvious, but it is possible. When you say no dropper, do you mean that it absolutely cannot have a dropper installed on it? Well, that's kind of a loaded question, because where there's a will, there's a way. And you can pretty much do anything you want to do with enough creativity and resources. But from the factory, now usually my wording is a little specific. Usually I'll say provisioning for a dropper. But when I say no dropper support, although at some points I might have said dropper support while I'm thinking provisioning for a dropper, but no provisioning means there's not a hole for the cable to come down internally and route out, and then no exit point here. But you can always put on an external dropper until you're on a bike like this one. The reason I say no dropper here is because this seat tube, you can kind of see it has a little curve to it there. Well, you probably can't see it well, but it does. It has a curve to it, and this is actually as low as this seat can go. Is it? Yep, that's as low as this seat post can go. And let me just kind of mark here and see if I can get this pulled out. So that's how much seat post can go down in maximum if you had an externally routed dropper. And this was the amount, and let me see if I can measure this. I just moved my finger, but this is right at 7 inches when I measured. So if your dropper has a minimum insertion point that is 7 inches or less, and it was an externally routed dropper, yeah, it could be done pretty easy. Even internal routed, if you wanted to come out here and then somehow drill holes. Like I said, where there's a will, there's a way. Anything is possible, but because practically the way this is designed, the seat post gets stopped pretty quick. On this 350 millimeter seat post, you can see I'm not getting all of that 350 down in there, not even, well, I say a fraction of it because there is about half that goes down in there, so only about 150 millimeters down in the tube. Because of that, I say no dropper support. Are those really plastic pedals? Yes, they are. Next question. I am kidding about that being a big deal to most people. I can already feel the roughness on these as they're rotating, and that's what I think the viewer is talking about. Plastic pedals, yeah, they're cheap, they wear out quick. If budget, and if you're shopping for a bike like this, where price, you're getting a lot for the price, and that $252 or so with the coupon code might be the most you can afford. If that's the case, these will wear out and they will need replaced, but there is salvation. You can run down to Walmart and buy these Ozark trail pedals that so far have proven to be pretty good. I have someone that's been riding with these for now, I think, a month, and they're doing really well with them, and I'm about to equip 2 people with these, and then I can review them, talking about how well these work. Actually, I might take them apart first and go over that, but so far, these look pretty good, and they're only 15 bucks. So ride it with this, and if you're going to ride on mountain bike trails, you're going to want something with a little more grip anyway. It's not a big deal at all. You get an expensive enough bike, they don't even come with pedals. OEM tires, the Kendas. Someone thought that I was saying these are bad. Actually, no, they're not bad. They're just not the knobbies that I like. Something like this to ride on the local trail with. These are a little more kind of hybrid, street friendly. Actually, these probably do pretty good on gravel too. But these are a do-it-all tire. And these, I call them Kendas, because anytime you just see the one brand and you don't see a model or anything else, they're OEM. Some people call these white label. They're just budget tires. They're basically screen printing a brand on, in my opinion, whatever. Sometimes these little OEM tread tires turn out to be pretty good. They wear down fast in my experience, but usually they're such a soft compound, which is kind of ironic. You get super cheap, you'll get a soft compound that wears down faster but actually grips better. If you buy big name tires, sometimes you pay big bucks for a softer compound. I've had some budget mountain bike knobbies that performed almost as well as high dollar knobby tires. Even like the tires I've put on this bike, they perform good, but I've had some OEM tires that performed equally well just because they were such a soft compound, but they wear down fast. I have nothing against these. I was just talking about the tread pattern. I would put more mountain bike knobby tires, or at least for my trail, mountain bike knobbies on there. So I wasn't critiquing the tire per se, just the tire tread, which isn't bad for what you get for the dollar, considering how cheap this bike is. And I'm not saying cheap as in it's not well made, because it is. I'm saying cheap as in super affordable. Rear spacing, and what that means is the space between this dropout and this dropout. How wide is it? I said in my video, it looked to me, to my eyeballs, to be 135. I said I would put in the comments if it was any different. I didn't put in the comments because it isn't any different. This is 135 rear spacing. Cassette. You said cassette in your review. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm absolutely positive that this is a cassette. Head tube angle. I said I would get it and geospecs. I do have some of the geospecs, like the tube links, this back here. I also have the head tube angle. That is 68 degrees, making this very cross-country friendly, exactly like I described it in my review. I'll put those other numbers down in the description. How hard to upgrade this to hydraulic disc brakes? Surprisingly easy if you have $33. The reason I say that is because this is the core. There's also an Able Bike Company Sport. I happen to have one. You'll be seeing that very soon here. But it's practically the same bike. A couple of little tweaks that make it nicer, one of which is hydraulic disc brakes. And I can tell you, $33, I've yet to find any good hydraulic disc brakes that were that low, and you don't have to put them in because it would come already on the bike for essentially roughly the same bike, just a couple of little tweaks, and they're good tweaks. So I would look at that sport model and spend the extra $33. However, if you are asking for future use, buy the bike now. So you only have $252, and that's using the coupon code KevCentral. If you don't have any more than that, and you want to buy this bike and then upgrade later, how hard is it? Well, there's two answers to that. Proper, which would be routing internally. So bringing this in, putting it internally here, and then routing it down. That's not very user-friendly for the entry-level upgrader trying to fish these through a tube, and hydraulics have mineral oil in them that will leak out. You'll have to bleed them and all that. Not very user-friendly for a new bike mechanic or a new bike rider trying to do it. That's why I'm saying the $33 to go to the sport model. However, there is also external cable routing. It's kind of ugly on a frame designed with internal routing, There's some stickies that you can run down. I actually did that on one of the bikes. I think it was the Ozark Trail, and it worked out fine. Added about $6 to the cost. So add that to the cost of the brakes, but it is possible either way. So I'll just say possible, but I would go for the sport model and have them already on the bike. And you get something a little better at the back too. And the final question, number 10, this goes back to the tires more or less. I had this asked on both videos. People asking, how wide can you go here? Well, there's space. There's plenty of space both at the top and the bottom, but I wouldn't go above 2.35 with a true mountain bike knobby. You know, something that's got some pronounced knobs on it, especially like a Maxxis Minion. I'm looking around, I think they're on the other side of the basement. Yeah, they are, and in a dark corner. But the higher knobbies and wider starts getting close when you're looking there, and you want some spacing because you don't want stuff rubbing. Bad news. Same thing up front. Looking here, there's plenty of room, but when you get taller knobbies and they're out at an angle, you can see it starts filling in there quick. There is room, I think, in the Univega video, somebody's asking about 2.6. I'm not sure if that was on this video too. I wouldn't put 2.6 on either, not just because of the frame, but also for the inner lip width on these rims. So 2.35 would be about the max, and that's going to be pretty bubbly on these rims as well, so factor that in. I hope this helped out. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask them. I do have the bike still. I'll be donating it soon. A little grease there. But until I get it donated, I'll be happy to go over anything for you, answer any other questions, but I think this should knock out the bulk of it. Go to the Sport for hydraulics, tire size, dropper, alloy, very important, head tube angle, external taper cups can be used, just not a fan of them, and so on. If there's anything else, and pedals, you know, there's cheap pedals out there. So don't worry about the pedals on any bike because most of them come with just cheap plastic. Anyway, that's my spiel. I hope this helps you out. Comment below if you'd like to see more of these. I can follow up on every bike review from this point forward with something like this. Thanks for watching and have a great day.